loving you harder. Loving her makes loving you harder now. Baby, I thought you could give me wings. Baby, I thought falling felt like flying. 'Cause loving her makes loving you harder. 'Cause loving her makes loving you harder now. Loving her makes loving you harder. And far away, I'm loving you stronger now. If I can, if I could build you up, don't bring me down, bring me down. If I fall, then would you lift me up? Would you lift me up or bring me down?
They would like this like the beginning of a revolution.
Hello, welcome. Okay, I think we're up and running. I hope so. I think I'll say this every week because I'm never 100% confident that Ryan won't fuck something up.
All right, Fitch.
So that's the perfect transition to welcome my co-host and my lovely guest. So we're Ryan, the tech man himself, the Thorin, or maybe the Richard Lewis. We'll see depending on how this goes. His reputation depends on this. He is joining me today, as well as Ben. And then we've got Ro. We've got our special guest.
Hello.
We're very
Awesome
happy to have him.
introduction, Sam, for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say, you kind of just...
We
Ben.
got the.
Do you know what?
We got the better IGL. And then,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's save that. Let's at least give us 5 minutes before we get
Okay,
into that fucking
okay.
shite. So welcome. Thanks for coming on, everyone. And as per usual, the normal format, we'll take a look at the games that happened was yesterday. And we had some banger games. Did anyone have any notable don't say UCDB versus UU? We have a section dedicated for that. Do we have anything, Ben? Anything notable?
Yeah, in Group A we had UCC versus Back Six, which was kind of highly anticipated. It was one we'd been talking about a lot on the podcast last week, and it ended in a tie. One of the games went to OT, and the other one was 16-10 to QUB. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd spoken to some of the UCC lads briefly about the game. I think they're pretty disappointed. I mean, Ben, you're probably not. You predicted this perfectly.
I exactly predicted this. I said, the one UCC win would be close, and the other one would be at 16-8, 16-9. Well, it was 16-10. They got one more round than I said. So
yeah,
go
that is actually
UCC.
ridiculous. To be
Go
fair,
UCC.
yeah. I mean, the OT win, like you said, it was very close. 19-15. Milk dropping 41 kills, which is just fucking ridiculous. Like he had a 1.69 nice rating, which is just fucking crazy. So credit to him. It just seems like the rest of his team weren't really on his level, but no one else on the server was, and he managed to pull his team over for the win. Obviously, it is a team effort if they win the game, but he really had an outstanding performance. Ronan, you probably got the best insight into the Back Six guys. Do you think Train was an upset, or what would you say?
Yeah, so obviously I didn't get watching it because we had our game on at the same time, but I was chatting there to Consor today, and the way they sort of phrased it was that they were down, I think, was it 7-1 at some stage, like on the first map, so it was just like trying to get back into it on Train is a bit difficult, but they had brought it back and it was like 14-all, and then they got ecoed or something, so I mean, just
Yeah.
can't be at that, like, but yeah, I think they're disappointed. They've kind of been disappointed at their performances recently, like even in Newell as well. So just gotta focus on getting obviously the playoff games out of the way now and hoping for the best.
Yeah. Do you think they anticipated a 2-0, and did they know how good UCC were, or did they expect it to be tough? Or do you know what their expectations?
Yeah, I think they knew it was going to be tough. Probably the toughest game, obviously, bar their TUD game, it would probably be their toughest game. Saying that though, I think they were fairly confident that they would either get a 2-0 or a 1-1, and they've got the 1-1. So yeah, obviously 2-0 would be nice, but it is what it is. Gotta play on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually catch the games. For some reason, this game wasn't streamed. They streamed some Stomp instead. Pretty brutal. But yeah, I think that would have been a really good game to watch live.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ice would have been in contention for streaming either us or this.
Yeah, I think it was
UCC get streamed
UCC
last week.
got streamed last week. I think that's what the discussion was. So it's a bit of a shame that way, but
yeah,
I think it goes,
I think that was probably the only interesting game in the group as well. I mean, with UD and Maynooth. I mean, like, respectfully, who cares? Like, I don't think that game mattered in the slightest. And then UL Tropics and Bai, I'm not going to make the joke that we make every time, which is they might struggle against Bai. Yeah, haha, they're bad. And then MTUC and NUIG. I mean, I don't think these are like at this point in Group A, especially. The winners have already won. They've already won their easy games. I don't think it mattered too much. Then moving on to Group B, we have what was it probably in contention for one of the other games to be streamed, DCU and Trinity. Anyone have any insight about that game? Ryan, did you catch anything from it, or the scores, or what was the story?
Yeah, I had a look at the scores. How long Battlefight is just sometimes a piece of shite.
Yeah, so it was 2-0 to
DCU. Yeah, and we were kind of looking at this a little bit beforehand, and I think we had talked about this previously. We had sort of earmarked Ekip and Quigs to be the ones that if TCD were going to do anything, it would be through those guys. And They tried their hardest, didn't they? Like 28 kills, 27 kills, EKIP Quigs respectively on one map. The other map, it was a little bit closer, but they got 16-3'd. You can't really expect anyone to be going out there, but I think that's probably the biggest surprise from this whole series is just that second map was a complete and utter slap. Like,
Yeah. Do you think that's because like the hard carry mentality of Trinity doesn't really match up against the well balanced approach, or do you think that's more on Trinity not turning up,
I mean,
like the other three?
yeah, I mean, if you look at Maynuth, for example, with the silliest unicorn you've ever seen, is it or saw? Fuck's sake! One of those weeks I'll get it right
every
across.
time.
Yeah. No, essentially, like they have one player who frags out. A lot of lower teams have one player that frags out. They've all been sort of left in the wilderness due to the import rule, which I'm going to bring up until it's reversed because I only found out about it recently and I want to look knowledgeable. And it's not going to work against a well-balanced team because if they just switch on and just go, right, we'll just not go to your site. What are you like? What's the alternative? Just shuffle them around constantly. If you've got a team full of somewhat equal players, or even players that can take it in turns to step up, if you're always relying on that one person, your team's just going to fall apart in the really tough games.
Yeah. I mean, I think like looking at the DCU stats as well on the Get 5, on the closer map especially. So 16-11, like 26, 23, 20, 20, 16. Like that is exactly what you want in a team. Everyone, maybe Bioko doing a little bit more work, which is to be expected. He's obviously their best player. But I wouldn't even say by a huge margin. The rest of them are doing their job. And I imagine Magic's doing his role. I mean, in a game, especially looking at the next game, like Magic still went negative. However, when it's 16-3, one player is going to struggle when your whole team is going to run around. And I think they're probably just messing about, to be honest. And knowing the nature of the team, I think once they kind of figured, right, Mirage is kind of their home map, I imagine they're pretty confident just running around doing whatever they want, which is, it makes Trinity look worse than they are because they're not a bad team, but it really just is a testament to how good DCU are and where they are at as a team right now. Ben, have you seen much from DCU, or do you have any thoughts on any of the players at the moment?
Yeah, and it's kind of strange. Like at the start of the season, you might have thought, well, to be fair, you would have thought they were an all-round solid team, but you thought it would be a Bioku sort of hard carry, and then the rest like picking up the rest of the pieces job. But like players like Shirley and Simplify as well, even like they can just like carry it as hard as Bioku can at any given game. Yeah, it's actually turned out to be a pretty well balanced team. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of shouts like the older iterations of DCU, where I think they got quarters or semis as well. I think they lost to UCD. Like they've always just been a really solid college for CS, and credit to them. I mean, there's definitely some similar players. I don't know if you guys were around back then. Like Bioko was about playing. Simplify's been around, but the consistency not only this season but in previous seasons, like they're obviously just really solid players. But I mean, I think most people would have said DC were going to take that map anyway. And then after that, we've got WIT 2-0ing NUIGB. I don't think anyone's madly surprised by that.
Not really, no.
Ryan, any shocks there? Did you expect NUIG to do the upset? Big Kurt?
I mean, see, when it comes to the lower teams, I'll be honest, I'm kind of clueless. I'm only mostly interested in people who frag out themselves or the teams who are actually going to do something when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
Kurt gave it a go map too, even though they lost 16-2. He went to 18-17. The rest of his teammates were all single digits.
Yeah, respect, I suppose. Yeah, no, that's
my G.
Yeah, Kurt.
Big up Kurt.
And then we've got. This is going to sound like a biased opinion, right? And we'll get to a lot more biased opinions. Right? Don't worry.
He's already started. I wasn't even said the correct name. He's already started.
If there's an iceberg of biased opinions, we're at the tip now, and we're going to go down to the bottom. Okay, but UCDC and TUD Apes AVP, phenomenally interesting game. Not because they go to a superior college. It's not, okay? But the fact that the winner of this decided the 4th seed for the group. And it's a massive upset for UCDC team to get into the top 4, despite falling behind earlier on in the season. Now, I've looked at some of the stats here, Mac went 40 and 25
Yeah.
in an overtime win.
Dear.
Like, he's a C team player. Like, when you think C team, you don't think 40 kills. That's all I'll say. And they played against a decent team. You know, all the TUD teams, as far as I know, I don't think there's even an exception. They've all been pretty decent, or they have at least some bits of talent moved around on the roster. They've got some good players, like Big Old Doggo comes to mind, Langusta, Ryan's man. They dedicated a full video to him. Players like this, like, they're not bad players, and I think it's a massive upset. And I did say as well, if the C team managed to get out of groups, which they have, I would shave my head.
Well,
Didn't think this would be a possibility, and I will tell you this, and this is going to hurt my ego. I do not have the hairline to pull off a shaved head. Not at this stage. Not at my age.
He's not a man of his
cop
word.
out.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe back in sides, that's what they'll get. But genuinely, it's a huge upset, and I think they deserve so much credit for what they've managed to do. And then, actually, hold on. Did something just get? Yep. Okay,
Yeah,
just
but
before
we'll leave.
UCD
Yeah, we'll leave that till after Group C, so we don't
Oh,
mess
don't
up
worry,
the
Oh,
chronology.
okay. Well, if everyone wants to check the Ice CSGO chat,
Yeah.
the playoff brackets
Got a little
have
notification
just been
there
announced.
popping up.
Well, we
Yeah.
might as well go on them so people don't go elsewhere. Like, you know.
Okay, you'll get all your coverage here.
Yeah.
We'll talk through it, and then we'll quickly skim over whatever happened in UCDB versus U. Nothing important, not worth
Yeah,
much
you
of a
could say that,
discussion.
yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
dear.
right.
Oh no, I'm just looking.
Okay,
Playoff
so
brackets. Here we go. We're loading up now.
yeah, we'll wait for the stream to be able to see.
So there
this
we
as well.
go.
Yep. Okay, so I'll
Got them
talk
up
us
now.
through it. We've got the pretty clear number one seed.
Hold on, before
In
we
what I-
start, just say that this was timed with our show. That's how much pull we now have. You
We
know?
have clout.
We're the influencers. Like at this stage, we are the.
Hold
Did
on,
you just
we-
say
You're the
influencers?
guest.
Look,
Yeah.
you see this face. You see, I'm
Yeah.
on the stream. Look at all these years. Like, you know.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pulling in the big numbers. You know.
Oh man, I'm just
Okay,
looking to see
actually,
as well. Come on.
I'm gonna pop that link in the chat as well.
Lads. Have you seen?
Oh, Ronan, you're sorted, man.
What do you? Yeah,
Okay,
no.
hold
It's the.
on,
it's the.
hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
Alright,
work
alright,
through this.
alright.
We'll go down, and then you can tell us why you're sad. Okay, so we've got number one seed, obvious, against number 16. I mean, TUD are pulling that off pretty easily. I think they're pretty delighted. I feel bad for MTUB, some good lads there, but they are about to get beaten down harder than they've ever been beaten down. Like, fourth place, I imagine what they will be. They're Group D. I mean, like, impressive. They got out of a group that had UCD, UL, NCI, but TUD are gonna make mincemeat out of you. And good luck after that. And then we've got finally an interesting game, and we've got UU against Trinity, and we have someone from UU, shocker,
Live reaction.
and-
We do
himself.
indeed.
What are your thoughts going into a game against Trinity?
I'm actually excited for that. You know, I think that's gonna be a banger match. I think we'd be quite evenly matched. I don't know if people would like say that. In terms of like skill wise, I think they have like higher like face it levels or whatever you can say. But I think like player for player, like matching up against them, I think everyone I think we match up nicely. So it might
Yeah.
actually come down to the likes of instead of just individuals, it might come down to team play. So yeah, I'm feeling happy enough for that. And I'm definitely going to be prepping for that one now.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. One of the ones to stream, I would say, and not the one that we'll look at next. But yeah, I'd actually like for a prediction. Ronan, we'll start with you.
Oh,
What are you
okay.
going to go for? And keep in mind that these are all best of threes
Yeah.
now,
Mm-mm.
so map pool is going to play a huge role
Yeah,
from now on. Who you got?
Right. I'm just gonna say it straight. I haven't really looked too much into Trinity. I'm gonna give it 2-1 to Trinity, just based on the results that I've seen. I haven't actually watched a Trinity game, just from what I've seen in the results. You know, I'm just thinking that's like I can't give much here, but I'm thinking 2-1.
Okay, interesting. Ryan,
You invite him on a podcast. Like,
Yeah, I was about to say, out of
Just
interest,
invite
Ronan,
Scripts India, man.
have you watched the Ulster games, and is that why you're predicting them to lose?
Perhaps.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, I think it's going to be tight as well. Because with TCD, obviously we just talked about them. They've got the two heavy fraggers. And the last couple of games, don't get me wrong, Ulster, like, you have done well. You have beaten the people that's been put in front of you. But like, I think as we'll get on to later, the teams that you've beaten might predict that, or might say that they underperformed versus where they think they should be. So I would probably give it to TCD, and I think it's gonna be either a close 2-1 or a fairly convincing 2-0.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'm gonna defend myself here first. Easy clap Ulster. I think we get a 2-0. I think you guys are
Loss.
underrating our results the last 3 weeks. I mean, there's the ULB result. You know, we're not gonna talk about it. It happened. You know, there's issues there. Yeah, but I think the fact that we kind of blew out MTUA and UCDB, who were looking really solid overall, like at least throughout the group stage in general. I think that, especially off the back of the UCDB win, that's given us a lot of confidence into this game. And in terms of like our team cohesion as well, I've heard there's sometimes on like the Trinity camp there can be a bit of back and forth between a few of the players. And I think like just how the team chemistry was in our last ice game there. I think everyone's sort of on the same wavelength at the minute. So
yeah.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think this is a tough one to predict. I've got a foot in both camps. I'm friends with some Trinity guys. I just got my ass handed to me by some you guys. But I would be more inclined to say Trinity on this one. However, one thing to note, looking at the Get 5, the map pool matches pretty nicely. Trinity are willing to play Mirage, Overpass, Nuke. You guys are also willing to play that. So I think it'll just come down to its boring answer, say it every time, who turns up on the day. But I think, like you said, in terms of skill level and skill cap, I think Trinity, like Ekip and Quigs, can probably take it into their own hands. And I don't think you have anyone to match that level. And it just depends on how the other three on Trinity play and how maybe yourself and some of your players. Like, I mean, we know Long and Blue Penguin are probably going to play well. So it's down to the other three on your team if they'll turn up on the day. I think it'll be a really good series. I would go Trinity 2-0 though. That's just I think Quigs and Ekip are a deadly duo that I don't think you can match. But we'll see.
You know
I
what?
would love to be proven
We'll
wrong.
see you next week. You guys can clown on me if I lose, and I can clown on everyone if we win. So
Sounds good.
Don't
All
worry,
right, so
I think we'll be able to clown on someone when we talk about this next game, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, unless we have a miracle, DCU and myself and my team have got not even a close matchup. The DCU's form right now is crazy. Like, I mean, we're not going to touch them. I'll just be real. We have maybe one map that we could possibly play close on them. If they've done their homework, we won't play that map. But I don't think there's much to talk about there. They've beaten teams way better than us, or at least beaten teams that would probably beat us pretty like they smacked them about. I don't think it's gonna be too close. We've got a favorite DCU in that one. Does anyone have any other thoughts on that? Maybe an upset for UCDB.
I think it's going to be a DCU 2-0.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I don't think there's much more to say about that. Like, individual wise, like I think maybe your best players are as good as their worst players. So, like you know, on an individual level. No offense to UCDB, you know, you guys are good, but DCU are just another level. So
yeah, Ronan, do you want to hype me up or?
You're all right, man. Sorry, man. Can't. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm saying it straight. Yeah, too long.
Okay. Well, if we take a map, I'll shit on all of you.
Okay.
I'll just say that, but I don't know how likely this is. So that's another shit game. To be fair, another one that is absolute cracker should be streamed. We've got UCDA and UCC. This is going to be unreal.
Yeah.
We'll start off predictions. Score, Ronan. Where are you going with it?
I'm thinking I'm gonna give it to UCC.
Yes.
2-1 to UCC, I think, in this one.
Interesting.
just like I feel like UCC they've been playing really well, and the games that I've seen, the talk of UCD has been not as good as they'd like to have been. I don't know whether that's a permanent issue or something that can be fixed. Either way, I think it will be a close series. So I'm going to go for a close 2-1 to UCC.
Anyone have a differing thought, or Ryan, are you echoing the same 2-1?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 UCC because, like, as I think I've been told for the millionth time, UCDA aren't practicing. And I know we always apparently go to that, but like I have a lot of time for some of the players on UCDA. I think like Incipients is a great guy, and he's pretty decent at the game. But at the end of the day, like we've seen how they've been playing the last little bit, and like I think the only person who hasn't spoken about from their team, the only person who hasn't officially commented on their lack of practice is maybe Ruben. So that just goes to tell you the mindset that the team are in at the moment. They know they're underperforming, and I think UCC have sort of shown themselves to be quite good these last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think they'll take it in a 2-1. Well, I say hopefully, but for our predictions, hopefully. It should be a good game to watch though, but yeah.
Yeah. Ben, do you have anything different to say, or are you going with the
If I'm honest, yeah, I know this is kind of the like clown on UCDA podcast sometimes a bit, like we do clown on their lack of practice and all that. I don't know. It's gonna be really tight. Like if UCDA decide to, like, at least for this game, like start putting in the work that the likes of Otter and the UCC boys have put in, I could see them taking it. But the thing is, I don't think they will. Like I think Otter is and the UCC boys are just super motivated, especially
Yeah.
against the likes of UCDA, just because they're like a big household name. They've been in the finals every year. Just to try and beat these boys. I see it going 2-1 to UCC as well, but as I said, it's going to be close. On an individual level, like I think they just match up like player for player really well. But
really?
yeah, like I think in terms of like yeah, I don't know. I'd say that like firepower wise, they're pretty similar, but I just think like the work that UCC are putting in at the minute is just it'll pay off for them. So
Okay, I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna go 2-0 TCD. No bias, and it's been pretty clear. I have talked about their lack of practice, and I think maybe that came across a little bit misconstrued in previous episodes because I've had messages, I've had comments about it. For the record, I don't think they're a bad team at all. I think what I've made the point, and maybe it wasn't clear, I think they could be a better team. I don't think they need to practice. I think if with practice they would be really good. I feel like that maybe came across differently before. I think UCD will 2-0 them, and I think we're partially involved in that. I think people were maybe not too happy with us, maybe shitting on them, and I think that's going to push them. I disagree. I think UCD have better firepower. I think Otter's a good IGL. I don't think he touches Incipients in terms of experience in these high pressure situations. I think that'll come into play. I think the likes of Danny, Aiden, like even Ruben, as much as we'd love to shit on him, he's still a decent fragger. He can turn up, and if he wants to, and if he's feeling confident, he will just ego them. And I do still think UCC are really good. I think they're a phenomenal team, and they're so well practiced. But I just think UCD will take it, and I don't know how close it'll be. I'd love to see a close game, and I'm friends with UCC, and I'd love for their sake for them to win. But I think UCD are probably just a better team. Their experience will come into it. Even hours for hours, UCC don't touch them. Like UCDA's hours in game is phenomenal. Like UCC, I scrimmed them recently. I've played firsthand against them. Their setups are really smart. They're really good. I think UCD will just turn around the corner and kill them. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think UCC have a tough road ahead of them, to be honest. They had played a good game against Back Six, taking a map off them, relatively close second map. Talked to them, maybe the veto didn't go the way they wanted. There was a mistake there from what I know. But if UCC were to beat UCD, who are they coming up against next? Spoiler, it's not UCDB, it's DCU.
Yeah.
That's another matchup worth talking about. We'll probably discuss that next week. But I mean, this is a tough road to the final. In fact, I would say it's probably impossible for them to get to the final. And this isn't me shitting on UCC.
Yeah, realistically, whoever gets through that bracket, I think will be challenging. Will be challenging No, because they have to meet TUD. Whoever goes to
Yeah,
TUD.
but I think it is interesting though, because we did say like one of the few teams we listed that could beat TUD would be DCU, so that could be a very, very, very interesting semi-final. Some would say maybe that's the final of the entire thing, given the other side of the bracket, but you never know.
And then moving on, we've got the expert himself on the topic. We've got QUBers. I was
Cubers.
informed. Yeah, I was informed it's
Cubers.
called Cubers. I think you're leaving yourself to be called Pubers at that point. I just
That's
wouldn't call
actually
yourself
the first I've heard of that. That's quite good.
Really?
I
Okay.
respect
Well, there
it.
you go.
That's surprising.
There you go. And you're playing against the gods themselves in UCDC. How are you feeling going into that game?
I think we'll do okay. We'll do some research on UCDC. We're obviously like every game that we're sort of coming into, we're taking a good look into how teams are playing. So I think we'll be confident for this one. Not as a BM sort of thing. Like everybody seems to be doing well, sort of getting into the swing of things now as a team. So I think I'm gonna give us a 2-0 up at Cubers.
Anyone else got anything mad? Any contrarian predictions?
like a guy, they scraped through UCDC fourth, and a guy, I'm not gonna say live game because I hate that, but he 40 bombed, like he's not gonna do that again. You know.
Yeah.
I think Huber's really solid.
So you got
everyone
wow.
everyone on
Nice.
that roster's everyone on that roster's really solid. We scrimmed them a good bit recently, and they're really solid in scrims too. So it's a 2 out of them. That's it.
Ryan, are you going the same again?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Ronan's gonna be the last for Man in the next round, so that's why I'm going 2-0.
Thanks.
All right. Well, yeah, I think I won't bet against them. Like they're obviously like we went 1-1. Mind you, we lost our second map 16-14. Pretty close. I feel like that should be on the record. But I don't think the C team can do it. I would love for them to do it, and trust me, Ronan, I am praying to lose, but I don't think you will. I don't think you will. I think the C team have some good pieces, maybe not the structure or practice needed for them to get there to the next level, but I think individually, and maybe like they still have a week with a bit of help from Mastermind IGL and now doomed B team player Buchel. I think I could give them a little bit of a hand, some tips, but I don't think I can't be there on the server. Not that would make too much of a difference, to be honest, at this point. But I don't think I think I'm going to go 2-0 Cubers as well. Cubers, sorry. And then we got another Cube back six. Is that QUB? Are you going to confuse me with that one? Back six. Okay, we'll keep it that way. They're taking on ULA for the record. No ULB Sports made it here, unfortunately. What do we think in this game? I think this on paper could be a good game, but
That's
I think
an interesting one,
anyone have any thoughts?
I still think QB take it. I'm gonna say 2-1, because I think UL have some solid players, and it could be a similar situation to UCC where you just have a guy like Milk who just frags out and they nick him up, I'm gonna say 2-1 the back six. Comfortable enough, mostly.
Anyone got anything else? Anyone got UL winning it, out of curiosity?
No.
Nope, the little mouse noise says no.
I'm going to say 2-0 to back six. Obviously, like in UL's bracket, like UCDA and NCI aren't that's fair enough. You've taken those L's, but I think Queens or the back six are probably on that sort of similar level, and I think if they can sort of get themselves out of this. I keep saying it as a slump, which sounds like it's been some really depressing time for them, but they're just there's just been a few I know they can play better, so I just think if they sort of get things right, obviously, but uni sort of wrapping up as well, it's been a bit busy, so get some time to practice, and I think it should be a 2-0.
Yeah, I think a 2-0 is probably most likely. I would say I don't see UL doing it. I thought maybe if they played a closer game against UCD, that would maybe give me a bit more of confidence. But I don't know how close that was. But they didn't take a map, and I think they'd need to take a map off UCD to instill the confidence in me. I think UL are good. I think individually they're great. I don't know how much practice they're doing. I think someone from UL once told me that no one in UL practices. I don't know how accurate that was. I think it was Gimpy Potato there out in my source. But yeah, but I don't see UL doing it. Some good players, but the practice of back six I think will just break their back. And then we've got some less close games, I would say, on the lower end of this. We've got NCI and NUIGA. We'll speed through this a little bit quicker. Does anyone have NCI losing this, or even dropping a map?
Or even having it close on any of the maps? No.
No,
honestly, no.
I don't think so. No, Ronan, any surprise insight on NUIGA?
Absolutely not, unfortunately. No,
I didn't think so. Okay, yeah, I mean NCI are going to 2-0 them.
Like I don't think NUIGA are a bad team, or I think they're all right, but they're just.
Oh no, yeah,
NCI's
not at
level.
all. Like, but I think just that matchup is like
Yeah.
if there were some other, there are definitely some other teams in this sort of
In
like
the round of
seeding
16, they could
that
take.
they could definitely take, but they've been drawn the shit hand there, like obviously with the season and stuff. So hard
Yeah,
luck for us.
yeah. I mean NCI have been looking great. Some really good individual pieces there. I think they're pretty well practiced, or at least they come across really well practiced. Whether they are or not doesn't really matter. If you look practiced, I'm going to compliment you. And they made work out of UCD. Oh, we're shitting on UCD again. Oh no. And yeah, I think NUIG are not a hurdle for these NCI guys. And then finally, we've got WYT against MTUA. Worth noting, MTUA have lost Nalco. He's not dead; he's just retired. So, what do we think about that matchup now?
Look, I mean, did you not hear Young Lunch Money last week? He said he was going to be TUD.
Yeah, he never said he could. He never said he could be WIT.
So he's going to take this one 2-0, right?
Yeah, and get
straight
to the final.
Straight to the final. Spoiler alert: UU probably won't beat TUD if they get through past Trinity. I don't think Trinity will beat TUD either. So I'd like to see an MTUA TUD grand final.
I think we're all waiting for it, right?
Yeah, I think we're all ready for it. But no, I see Witt taking this one.
Yeah,
2-0.
I think it's a 2-0, right? No one has MTU upsetting this.
Maybe taking a map, surely, like not some big read, but with Young Lunch Money telling us last week that there is going to be a new IGL on the horizon.
True.
Maybe, it depends if they've been putting in practice.
Periods,
Yeah, because they had a bye this week as well, so they've had 2 full weeks to just bring something new to the table, and they could probably work out where they would land in their own group, and probably had an idea where WIT would land. So you don't know, it could be that factor, but so maybe they get a map, but yeah, I do think they lose that overall. At least make it interesting, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best game is really UCD and UCC, maybe UU and Trinity.
I want to see UCC stream.
Yeah,
I mean, for stream.
I mean, I'd like to be streamed again for the content, but I've already been streamed twice, and that's a really interesting game. So
and that's the perfect transition because of the not safe for work stream that took place there yesterday. ICE decided to stream Murder, which is against Twitch's terms of service.
I didn't know where you were going with that. Holy, I was sweating like.
I'm covering a murder live on the Icebreakers. Well, I am in theory. It's not uncovering, but just discussing UCD versus UU. So I have a few notes. Ben, what happened? What are your thoughts? Ryan, what are your thoughts? Ben first.
Well, I'll go through the maps first. So we vetoed D2 and Inferno. They vetoed Train and I think it was Nuke. And they let us pick Mirage for the first time. They didn't permaban Mirage for the first time. They thought they could give us a go on it. And we won Mirage 16-12. And then the second map was their pick of Overpass, which was rather disastrous for them. A 16-5 win for the UU men. I'll talk us through the Mirage, Sam, because that was the one that we saw coming, but we were kind of wondering what you'd prepped for it or what your sort of mindset behind that was.
I think the word they used there was prepped. We didn't. We kind of figured that we have better aimers. Individually, we're better. And we've kind of thought, okay, practice unnecessary. We kind of just thought if we turn up on the day, aim-wise, we'll take this pretty easily. And what we came up against was, for the first time, a structured-looking UU that was just better as a team. There's no two ways about it. Look at you. You're smiling, sitting back in your chair.
I'm
You're so happy
loving
with
this
yourself.
one. I'm loving this.
But
He went this on repeat tonight as he was
Do you
asleep.
mind?
Yeah,
Do you mind
yeah.
if I bring your tweets up after the game?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have put that in the tweet longer, like 3 tweets in a row. Like God saves.
God,
Yeah.
okay, twit
That's
longers.
right.
Okay, don't get us started on twit longers. We'll go down
There
a
we go.
UU path there. But
That was rookie trying to get that on.
yeah, no, it was. I mean, it wasn't that close. We went 8-0 down. We managed to finish the half 8-7. We kind of thought, okay, myself and one of my other players were really having a rough time, which was, I was surprised. I kind of didn't warm up that much for the game because my form recently has been really good individually. Not to cite stats, but I've been pretty good in ICL. I know that means fuck all, but I mean, I kind of thought I could just take the aim duels and I'd probably win it, as I normally do against the likes of Ben, right? But it turns out they all had life games. No, they didn't have life games, but they were just well practiced. They had some decent strats, or at least some decent mid-round calls. We gamble stacked the odd time, didn't work. We thought maybe once we got the half, once we pulled the half back a little bit, we could do a bit more, but we didn't have that good of a T side. They kind of just shut us out. They had some good rounds. We threw a few times, and yeah, I mean that was that. And then once we had lost that map, just for anyone wondering why Overpass was such a smash, they were phenomenal on Overpass. Not to take it away, but we had to 16-2 them, so you could figure after 5 rounds when we'd lost 3, our seeding was already decided, so we knew we were playing for nothing. And that was pretty demotivating. I'm not gonna lie. So we kind of did just fuck about running around, just we go here, I'll just go here, that kind of stuff. And everywhere we went, they shut us out. Their overpass was really well practiced. They had some really interesting setups, some obvious baits that they made work. And yeah, they were just the better team overall. There's not much more I can say. I individually played like shit, and I'll take the credit for that.
I individually played like a fucking god, but we'll,
Yes.
so someone's got to say it, so I'll just say it myself.
Yeah, no one would. No
Yeah,
one would
I'd
have
say no one else would.
So yeah, no, you guys had a good game. Overpass, I feel like we probably, in hindsight, I should have stepped up a little bit more and actually started calling and started trying.
Yeah,
to be honest,
you and Fran both had a rough series.
Yeah, to be honest, after
you
we
had 11 and 8, and Fran had 10 and 8.
Thanks for the numbers. Yeah,
I gotta bring them up.
Yeah, I mean, like mid Overpass game, I was scheduling my bus to go up and see my girlfriend because I had already. Well, this is done.
I was in his head rent free after
Rent-free.
we.
Okay. Yeah. For the record, I don't think they're better than us. I just think we played like shit and they played well. But that's what I'll say. I think Jonathan, obviously, this is not the Jonathan Long hype podcast, but it's kind of coming across like that. He's a good player. He turned up well. Blue Penguin was one.
Everyone turned up when you look at the stats. Like, I mean, I had it was 24, 23, 22, 19, 17 first game, and then 24, 22, 21. Oh wait, no, I'm looking at your stats for the second one there.
Okay. Cool.
And then it was 21, 20, 19, 16, 15. Like everyone,
Yeah. I mean,
within 6 frags of each other, was the biggest difference.
I mean, for me, I'm not going to name names, but for me, 2 or 3 of your players weren't great. You had some impact on the op that did bits for you. And I think Blue Penguin, weirdly enough, going into the game, the team had kind of discussed, we were more scared of Blue Penguin than Jonathan, because Jonathan plays really calculated. He thinks before he peaks. He thinks rationally. Blue Penguin doesn't. Blue Penguin sees bomb site and he knows how he gets there and he's out.
That's what I was discussing with my super team last week. You know, he's the X factor. Like you can't you can't calculate for a Blue Penguin peak or for
To be fair, he played relatively under a leash, but I mean his mechanical ability was it was good. Like we had 2 or 3, I would say 2 players for me on my team stepped up. But it just coordination wise, we weren't there, and it's as simple as that. I think that was why we lost. But we lost fair and square, and we made it out of groups, which was the goal. Probably won't make it past DCU, but it was a fun run while it lasted. And now I just get to criticize them. without having to reflect on myself. So that's the best part. So I suppose not such a smooth transition as I've been credited in the chat for having.
You know, kind of let Ryan and Rónán speak their
Oh,
thoughts.
I was going to fucking avoid Ryan. Okay, fine, Ryan.
I mean,
Any thoughts on the series?
I just want to say, like listening to you, you're saying, they played well, but we played shit. It had to be one of the funniest fucking things to me that whenever Ulster beat yous, you're immediately on Twitter, and rightly so. I'm not taking anything away from yous, it's true. But you go on Twitter and go, yeah, we just sort of gave up after 5 round, lads. Go fuck yourselves.
You got the excuses out early, you got them out early for the podcast.
I was surprised because we make no bones about it. Every podcast, it's a Jonathan Long appreciation squad. We're kind of the heads of the committee, me and Sam, because Ben's part of the team, so he has to keep all 5 players. These are all doing great, guys. To your point, he does play calculated, and he doesn't actually pop off as much as we think he could in that team. So, I had messaged him beforehand, being like, I hope you guys get it, but secretly I was like, yeah, UCDP are going to win this. And just, to my surprise, everyone seemed to have stepped up. Not the usual suspects on the usual maps you imagine. I have heard from a couple people, Tonzi's overpass is a little bit shaky, but he managed to drop a decent amount of frags here. Not so well on Mirage, which is the map I thought he would drop frags on, and that ends a positive bit about Tonzi. But the rest of your team sort of seem to step up all right, and that has been a bit of a feature. I know I said earlier, Ulster Unicorns getting a bit of an ego on themselves after beating 2 diminished opponents, but you just have to beat who turns up, and it was a bit of a murder. You know what I mean? So you played quite well, better than I expected, and deserved.
Oh no, I don't mean to take it away that it wasn't deserved. I think at the start of the season, this matchup was very different. When we practiced, we were stomping some pretty bad teams, but we were pretty confident when we'd had a close second map against Cubers, and we'd won the first map, albeit against ping issues. I get that. I don't want to take that away from me. We still won.
2-0 in a matchup again.
You wish?
I think we could get a 2-0 against you in a matchup again.
Well, maybe we'll do a show match. Who knows?
I could see it.
Yeah, I think individually we have some really talented players. I think our average level on Face, which I know isn't much to go off, but it's 7 or 8. It's not bad. We do have the pieces there. We just didn't have the practice to back it up, which is completely my fault, and the people for not turning up, but also mainly my fault. And yeah, I mean, I can't take it away. I think if we were better practiced, which is such a hypothetical and is a bunch of shite to say, I think still we're the better team. But like you said, you turned up on the day. I think right now your form is really good as a whole team in terms of practice, mid-round calls. I think you've come a long ways in IGL. This is not the Ben Bootlick podcast now, but I thought you were shit before. I think you're actually a pretty good team that could, in theory, beat Trinity, who I think is a pretty high-level team. And yeah, I think we've beaten that to death now. I hope, unless anyone wants to have another go at me, I will defend.
You want to hype the boys up, Rónán? Yeah.
I mean, it's for the Ulster man, up the boys.
Yeah.
I was expecting, I'll be honest, a 2-0 in that game. Just chatting with Ben beforehand, mate. We had a scrim that Tuesday as well. Obviously, the scrim was a bit bad. We both ended up using subs for different reasons, but it was I saw stuff there from what there was, and chatting to you, I felt I believed. Yeah, I thought Ulster had that one, to be fair.
And you were right. Fair enough. We got smacked apart, and they were the better team. I think that will do it on that. The topic I did want to move on to now. I think we've been going for a while now. We've been going for a good while, so we'll speed through this pretty quickly. In case anyone didn't notice, for the last 50 minutes, we were here with Cubers, Star, and IGL. Rónán.
No, I'm not taking credit for IGL. That's
he told me he was the IGL and the Star player before the show. What do you think makes your team good? How are you good? Who are you guys? Where did you come from?
So yeah, this team is just formed this semester, really. like one of our players in the previous lineup of Cubers. He's in the back six now. Some of the guys left because I mean one of them I think he left. He dropped out of uni. I don't think like COVID and uni like online classes for him. So hopefully he's back next semester. Who knows? And then yeah, we had some other guys and some new people that joined in. Like I got a shout out to the boys. Like Slothy's been really putting in the work. I think he's got like the 6th highest rating so far in ice or something like that.
It's a nuts player, like
Yeah,
so
he's
good.
he's decent, and he's got the like he is our IGL, so he calls the strats. He knows it all. Like and he's got some good stuff there. He's got a good brain on him, and he's got a good aim on him. So what can I say? Like it's the best of both worlds.
Complete
Uh,
player.
Zozzy or Harry Ozzy, he's just a fragger. He's very aggro. Famously has told me that he got to level 10 without learning any smokes and just ran around and tapped heads.
Nice.
So it's kind of I felt like we've tried to sort of like get him into like a team playing sort of position. And that's obviously a bit different to pugging it out, but he seems to be adapting to it well. And when he gets rolling, he gets stomping like so. When you've got Slothy and Harry flagging out, like what more can you do? Crypt, he has I swear like a database of pop flashes or something. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I think in
I'm
our scrim the other night he had like 30 odd enemies flash. Like it's actually crazy.
It's
Like
honestly
just
like it's
wiped the
unreal.
whole
Like you're
game.
just holding some random angle, and he'll go like, "Yeah, do you want me to flash you out?" And it just seems to work. Like you
Yeah.
look on the tab at the end, and he's got like 30 enemies flash per game. Um, and he's really been stepping up recently with the aim as well. I've noticed he's been playing very well. So big ups to my G there. And then Fix played in the Q Blitz team, which is like the team sort of below us last semester, and we brought him in. He's mates with Trill, and Trill really recommended him as one of the one of these guys that's coming up. And he's really improved as well. I've noticed in a sort of like same way as Harry, very puggy. Didn't really play too much in a team, so he's I know himself and Crypt have really taken a lot of time just working at they generally play sites together, and they've taken a lot of time by themselves to sort of sort out like how to hold down sites by themselves and stuff like that on the CT side. So he's been putting in the work, and then you got me kind of general shitter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good overall look at the team. I wanted to ask because I was curious, and I feel like now I know your answer based on what you said to Ben earlier. But so far in the tournament, what was your toughest matchup? Do you think, or actually was it MTU? Actually, that was a close enough game.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of threw that second game on Vertigo. We lost 16-14. We hadn't played Vertigo before, but we watched their demos and we really thought we could take them. But I think, and we were beating them like our demo review had worked. But then the Nalco show
Yeah,
rolled out and he was just fragging away, and then obviously like head gets away sometimes. So it is what it is. Like we weren't too. We are obviously a bit frustrated at the time. What can you do? But we knew like in our like ourselves on the overpass game beforehand, like we had them fairly banged to rights, and that's one of the maps we'd played fairly often. So I would say that was kind of an annoying one because we know we could have taken that. Obviously, our game against UCDB, that was unfortunate with the lag on the first one. And then just with the second game, like we did bring it back. It was tight. But obviously, if things maybe had been a bit better, maybe it mightn't have been as tight with, obviously you kind of get a bit pissed off at yourselves if he's lose that first game with lag and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, I would have to say it was the MTU game.
yeah.
Also, mention to the UU game that was really tight. It was 2-0,
Yeah,
but it was so tight.
yeah. Like the first map, I think you guys like one of your. I think it was Crypt diffused in the smoke on 6 HP, and you won
Yeah,
16-14 and train.
yeah.
Like it's like oh nice,
So.
Yeah, whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
That's ancient history. Week
Oh,
one.
and one more
Ancient
shout out actually, our game against ULB. I don't know if you saw the video
Ew.
last night.
Sam was hating on ULB and laughing at me. ULB, you're crazy.
Yeah,
ULB, you're
Right, so we beat
crack.
them 69 in their first game. Like shout out to them. They've got some really good players. Like you can tell their aim is on point. On our second game, we kind of got a bit aggro, probably a little BMA. I mean, we went for what was it? Chrissy G got a 1v4 because we all went for knives.
nice.
Knife kills in the end, and then it brought it to overtime because our economy was fucked, and we won 1917. So like it was tight. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were also like actually a good team. Like they have the players there, and I think I don't know what they're if it's to go by the uh, UL teams don't practice, then fair enough. But if they had some practice in, I was watching Mitch's stream. He streamed their POV.
Yeah.
Like he seems to have a good head on him as well. So
Yeah.
if they sort of took that prac maybe a bit more seriously, had some proper strats going, I think they could be up there for next time.
Do you
Yeah.
think it plays? Sorry, do you think it plays into their favor though that everyone seems to underestimate them? Because every time I hear either someone dropped a map or it came close, it's because you said use BM'd Ulster Unicorns didn't have their full 5. You know what I mean? Like, is
I
it
mean,
just
we
people
were
underestimating them?
we were 15-8 up, I think, and it was a 1v4 with an op.
Yeah.
And we all
Okay.
went to
Fair.
knife fields. And
Yeah.
then because we lost that round, our economy was fucked for a few rounds. And then obviously you're like, oh fuck, we might actually lose this. You get tilted, whatever. But yeah, like I do think those guys definitely in future definitely make it out of playoffs maybe next semester. So
Really?
good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're a bad team. I just didn't play a close game against them. But obviously they turned it around. They beat UU. Do you remember that, by the way, Ben? They beat you, and they
On a
and they
map.
obviously played, yeah. I wasn't gonna say that, Ryan, but yeah.
I
No, I don't
sure.
think. I think they have some good individual pieces. Mitch, I've heard mere moments ago, is a good IGL. And yeah, I mean, maybe next semester, like they'll have upcoming first years and stuff. I think the winter season's always interesting because you get all the new students coming in. Maybe they'll have some prodigy walk in the door. Mind you, if he's a prodigy, he probably won't play for their B team, but who knows? Yeah, I don't think they're bad, but yeah, that's some interesting insight. Just really quickly before we get on to some viewer questions, I was wondering, what do you think, looking at the bracket and how it's going to shape out from now on, what would you foresee as the next toughest game that you have?
I mean, you probably caught my reaction there whenever the bracket got released. If we beat UCDC and back 6 beat UL, it's a QUB versus QUB matchup.
Honestly,
So
I'm
that
hyped
has
for
to
that.
be streamed.
I am backing you guys for that one. I can't lie. Like, I actually think you guys could take that one, like 2-1, no problem.
If back 6 are playing in the sort of way that they are at the minute, and we kind of get, I don't know, like really down to business with things, and everybody's firing off, I think it's definitely doable. And I think because we've played against each other in scrims, and like we're all kind of mates, like like we play with pugs with each other all the time. So I feel like that could be, a very close one, just because we know how everybody plays as a player. So it's like, say if I don't know, like overpass A side, it's like, yeah, Conzor is going to be on dice with an op because he's just fucking sick with the op, like, so he can hold down the A side by himself. And then like, I mean, all their team, they've got sick players, like they're a deadly team. So
Yeah. Okay. Well,
take it.
I suppose we've been going for a while now, so we'll probably just quickly go through some viewer questions that we got in our Discord. So on topic, I suppose, and related to that one, we've got: do you think back 6 will be able to take down NCI in order to secure the finals? NCI back 6. How do we feel that matchup will go?
I think at the minute NCI, I would probably give it to NCI. I'm not gonna
I
lie,
would give it to NCI as
Really?
well.
Yeah.
Wow.
but I'll
Any reasons why? I'm gonna wipe my webcam. This shit's blurry.
I just feel like when they played against TD, now I know there was the lag issues, obviously. I don't know how much NCI practice, but they do just sort of seem along the lines of a team that are like TD. They just go shoot people a bit, So, like if it's that sort of looser style of CS and they all play on form, I could see them just sort of dismantling back 6 as more like structured team play by just getting kills.
Yeah. So are we going 2-0 NCI?
I wouldn't say 2-0.
No,
Maybe 2-1. 2-1 NCI.
currently, yeah, I'd say 2-1. If things sound like a bit of a broken record here, if things get better for the back 6 and how they're playing, who knows?
Yeah.
2-1 to back
Mate,
6.
you're such a good PR man, like.
He's the president of their society. Of fucking
Yeah.
course he's going to say this.
Boys.
Ryan, who do you have for that game now?
Yeah, I have NCI as well. We keep talking about, we keep talking about Queens' tactical style. You have to see it, but that's because they don't seem to be streamed very often. So it's not even
To be
like you
fair,
can break it down
they
too much.
played TUD on stream, and then the teams bar maybe UCC, who took them on a 1-1, like they've
Yeah.
been fairly fairly easy games.
But
For them,
then,
so.
yeah, NCI beat UCD A. So, even with the problems they're having, it would be very interesting, but I think NCI would take it.
Yeah. Okay. We've got another one. I thought this was a really interesting. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Do you think there should be a separate competition, be it through ice or other? Okay, if this is poorly phrased, he might be dyslexic, but I'll try to read through the lines. For B or C teams to compete rather than getting slapped by the top 8 teams as a way of actually growing the scene, as there is a fair skill disparity between the top tier teams. So, do you think there should be a separate division for Bs and Cs? Yes or no? Ronan, where would you say with that one?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think there's enough teams. Obviously, like this is the biggest ice has been, 27 teams. I still don't think there's enough um really good teams to warrant a Division 1. Like
Yeah,
what I would say there's maybe like you're kind of getting like there seems to be a really sort of like maybe top I'd say like top 4 at the minute, and then you've got just like nipping at their heels, like maybe another 3 or 4, but then like there's a drop off, and I don't know. I think there's still opportunity. Like if a team's coming in and saying they're a B team, that doesn't automatically put them into Division 2 or whatever, you know. But obviously, I'd say that for Cubers, but
yeah,
um,
same. Yeah,
yeah, you do. Like exactly.
yeah,
Like I don't know. I think everybody should get the chance to come up. I know whenever we played in ice last year, last 2020, uh, what second semester 2020, we definitely had a lot of experience. Like it was good getting that experience from losing to some of the better teams. Like I really did feel like we learned a lot there.
yeah,
And I don't think it's fair to sort of take away that experience and the chance to play against better teams.
yeah. Ben, where would you sit on this? Because obviously you're not on a B team, so you would be put in this top league for God knows what reason. But
Hmm.
how would you feel about that? Would you rather the mix, or do you
I
want to get
just
shit on?
yeah, I think in terms of well, obviously I'm gonna say from my team's perspective, but I think that's the best way to sort of say from. I don't think it would be that great, like a thing for Irish like CS just to have like the top like 8 teams. I think like
Yeah,
allowing the sort of like middle tier teams to like play against the likes of a TUD or like an NCI who are like a really good team. It like gives them some experience into like what a really good team is like, and it gives you something to work for almost. You know what I mean? Like there's no point just being a mid tier team and just winning like the lower tier bracket, and you're not really getting challenged. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think the competition should just be like as it is, and you're playing the best teams possible.
yeah. Ryan, you've got probably the only unbiased opinion here. What would you say on the matter?
I think if there was something like this, it'd be very stupid to split it up. Oh, you're in the A team, right? You go top league, B team here, and any C teams down to here. I think having 2 separate ones could make it at least a little bit interesting because, yeah, you're saying it helps to play against some of the better teams and get beat up every once in a while. There's a couple teams that's not going to matter to. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah,
couple teams that even getting that experience isn't going to improve their players very much. It might improve 1 or 2 individuals. Because we've got this question I think maybe twice, but just from separate people. Maybe we weren't in a position to answer it last time, but it seems to come somewhat from players who would be in that second league. So it
yeah,
sounds like it's maybe something they're asking for. You could maybe do a bit of a relegation system, but that means you would have to have like a defined. This university gets 2 teams every year, no more. It doesn't matter how many players they have, just sort out your A and B team. Like with Ulster, you would get 1 team, and then if you ended up having enough to have a consistent 2 teams, maybe do it that way. But if you had if you would have to allocate the spots that way and go, right, there's relegation and promotion. I think that could make it quite interesting because it means even the teams that, like the lower teams that win their season but wouldn't do anything in the upper season, they still get the glory of then getting promoted, and then maybe you could see 1 or 2 of those guys get poached or anything like that. I think it might make it a bit interesting, especially because we have 2 seasons every academic year, so you might
yeah,
still, I know Ulster are like a near enough completely different lineup, but I feel like a lot of the lineups sort of stay somewhat not consistent, but you get at least maybe the same core. So relegation based system could be fun.
yeah. I mean, I like the idea. because I'm a B team player. But ultimately, I mean, I don't know. I see a strong argument for both sides. I think it would be better. Obviously, everyone wants to be challenged as a player, but sometimes it can be a bit disheartening, especially for even like the C teams of the league, where you're probably not getting too many wins unless you're UCDC team, in which case you'll get out of groups. But for some of the other C teams who are not blessed to come from this college, they're not going to get wins, and you're not going to have fun. Like I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm extremely competitive. I don't have fun if I'm losing. I just don't. Maybe some people find the joy of it. That's weird to me. But I think maybe giving them the opportunity for an even playing field will increase their overall satisfaction with ICE as an organizer. And I think that's probably what ICE would like. But at the same time, they're also having their player base into two separate things, which requires a lot more logistics and solid organization. So whether that's a possibility is a different question. But I wouldn't be too disappointed if they went ahead with it. I'd also be okay if they kept the normal way. It doesn't bother me too much either way, because I'll probably get out of groups and then lose after that. I think we have a few other questions, right? Oh, yeah.
There, sorry. Maybe even like a lower bracket, like a losers bracket thing post playoffs, or even for the guys that didn't make it out of the groups, just some sort of like Swiss system, just to get people. Obviously, the teams that have made it out of playoffs might find it tough against the teams that did get out of playoffs. So just that, I don't know, some sort of Swiss system. Again, logistical issues, but just that opportunity to play against some of the teams that might have got banged out in their group stages. It might be a bit closer competition. Something like that would also be quite nice. And you still
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to play against the tough teams in their groups. But then when it comes to maybe competing just for a bit of pride, you can play against some teams around your level. That might be
Yeah.
the compromise option there.
Yeah, I've seen some different opinions in the chat and in our Discord about maybe having like different playoffs, like 2 or 3 different playoffs, stuff like that. I don't know. It ultimately, what we say literally means nothing, as per usual. We're just people talking shite about a company none of us are involved in, really, other than the fact some of us play for their tournament. But I think anything other than what ICE is doing now is a lot more extra work, and I don't know if that is something that they'd be able to do. I don't know if they have the staff for it. We don't have the inside knowledge. So I don't think there's much more to go from that. It'd be interesting to mix it up, but at the same time, it's been working. They've had record numbers of teams sign up for this format. So, I mean, why not keep it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So we'll kind of go through some other quick questions. I'm not going to answer these just based on time. I got 3 questions from 3 different UU players asking me to tell them how good they are in varying different ways. Tonzi asking me to compliment
I
their
think
CT.
there's a good one there about our CT overpass. I think
Oh,
that's
fuck.
you can answer that.
Yeah, I'm not even going close. The question was, how did you feel up against our CT setup on Overpass? Were you distressed? Were your comms confused? I maybe will privately have that conversation. I'm not going to give you the, I'm not. I'm not going to say.
Better start. Better start.
I'm not going to say UU CT Overpass too good, man. You're all so good. I'm not going to I'm not also going to say it's because we didn't try. It was good, but I'm not going to sit here and suck these off anymore than I have.
You know.
That's the end of that. And another one of the question was, what were your thought process of leaving Mirage in the pool?
I think we already talked about that, didn't we? But
Very briefly, like.
Yeah, we just thought individually we'd have them individually. We didn't turn up. That's that. Then Blue Penguin asked. He asked a lot.
Why are we
not
so
exactly-
good?
Yeah, you're just better, mate. That's it.
yeah, we are.
Another actually interesting question that doesn't involve paying compliments to people that I don't want to compliment. This one's from NUIGB Kurt. If the teams stayed the same for next season, who do you think would see the most improvement from their game? So, any interesting angles on this one?
ULB.
Yeah, I'm glad I was asked first, because I was actually tempted, like, because all the big teams, it's what's the difference that they would do next season? Oh, they might play TUD closer. You know,
Yeah.
I think maybe ULB Sports, it might be a bit of a cop out, but it could be an actual semi-interesting answer. Maybe not that individual team, but the core of players, if anyone moves up or down to the A team, it could improve it because, you know, we've talked about they've had some surprising results. Maybe not surprising if you're in the team, but if they were to actually practice under the presumption that they aren't, please don't tell me 100 times why you aren't. It could get at least a little bit interesting if they end up in another Group C type scenario where all the teams are in theory beatable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting, this is slightly off topic, but we're getting the information live, so it's worth saying. I was asked if all three of you are drunk. For the record, if this is a common question, no. Rónán might have a problem, but he's just
one
having
beer, right?
he's
One
having
beer
one
with
beer.
right?
Because this does come from a UCD A team player who I will give the gift of anonymity. He assumes you must be drunk to think UCC will win 2-1. Yeah. Interesting thoughts. They're not drunk.
I'm
just
not
so
going to
everyone
go
knows.
back on what I said, but I could see it going 2-1 the other way as well.
I'm going back
I,
on
I
what you
think
said.
it's I'm not
Okay,
going to
yeah.
go back on what I said, but I could see it going 2-1 the other way.
Oh, that's playing real fair.
It's gonna be, I think, actually the closest game of ice this season.
Really? Okay, interesting. I think that's kind of it. We got one which is more of a prompt for discussion, which I don't know if we've really got the time. Maybe we can go a little bit more. We
It's
will
our
be having.
show.
Okay, yeah, true, true. Ronan's got more beers to be drinking though, so we don't want to take all this time. But okay, well, we'll maybe save most of this for when we have Gambra on the podcast. Ice CS admin, big reveal.
If we don't piss him off beforehand.
Yeah, true. Yeah, if we haven't shit on his format too much. But we had we'll talk a bit more about the ice side of things in that. Yeah, get a twit longer going, boys. But we got a good question from Ankle Joints asking, what do we think? Basically, in short, what he said was, do we think ice could be enhancing their broadcasts a lot more? And I know Fleming, you've got a lot of thoughts on this because I mean we spoke about this in one of your podcasts. What do you think ice could do? Because he talks about maybe there's no banter. There's no crack between the teams. It's literally just pretty cold. You're scheduling your games. You play at this time. That's it. There's no interviews. There's no storylines. Actually, I'll shift this over. Rónán, what would you say ice could be doing?
Yeah, I do agree. Something like there definitely could be something different. Even some sort of maybe pre-recorded like interview with maybe captains of teams, because obviously if you get a captain on, maybe that's just suffered a devastating loss or something, and you're asking them how they feel, and lo and behold, there's some gamer words being thrown about, or just like you've got that unpredictability of like live interviews, which I would say ice do not
Yeah.
want to have. So some like, yeah, I definitely agree with like more like content that you can put up. Obviously some sort of like banters I think is very important to sort of keeping the scene not from not being like really clinical or like too professional, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that mixture of like pre-recorded stuff that you can just pop up, maybe have a few discussion points about some more like post-match analysis rather than being like, hello, this is the game, who do you think will win? Okay, let's go. That sort of stuff. Like maybe a little bit more time beforehand would be nice, and a bit more after. Obviously you have to understand like the people have other stuff to do sometimes, and scheduling can be different. With the games especially, mightn't be on at the same time every week, but definitely just something like that would be a little bit of work, but would definitely be a bit more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could be doing a lot more. I don't know, like you said, the risk of having random players, like random college students, especially like 18-year-olds, on your broadcast when you're trying to be professional. A few gamer words would come out there realistically, and that's not something they want for potential sponsors and all that. Yeah, but I think in maybe more controlled manner, because they're gonna have to control it. I think they could do a lot more in terms of the content around teams, because there is interesting, like some teams are friends, some teams don't get along. I think they could play off that really well, and it'll increase viewers. Ben, what do you think? Do you think, are you going to echo the same sentiment, or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with like a pre-recorded player interview. I do like what they're doing with Skybox. Obviously, that they have that that content, though it's sort of separate and fired out, randomly through the week.
Yeah.
And I think something more in tandem with a broadcast, or even like a skybox, maybe to play like in the pre-match before a game or something, or maybe like between maps, you could like fire up a skybox of one of the teams, rounds, for example. Something like that would be cool. Yeah, I think they could do a bit more, but yeah, that's all nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? I think that's kind of all the questions we got.
Can I get a little bit? Can I like just very
Jesus,
quickly
Jake.
just to answer that? No,
Yeah.
like because I think if anyone had have watched, and me, I talk about I think with everyone, me and Evan especially went in on sort of that they're not. There's some things that they could be doing that they just aren't. I hadn't thought of a pre-recorded interview that could be quite good for before, but I think like if anyone missed the UCD TCD 2v2, me and Evan sort of had the idea to dress up, get ourselves on camera, which is something ICE aren't doing, which I don't understand for the life of me why that isn't a thing. If you're looking to be a member of talent, you can't be scared about having your face somewhere, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. We had people on after everything. It's as easy as dragging them into your channel. I mean, if
Yeah.
you really are worried about gamer words, have everyone like show you who they are ID wise when they sign up to the league. So if they do say anything on stream, like that's not a popular decision, but it should be. Someone from each team should show their identity so that you can bring them on. They say a gamer word, good your college finds out. Bye bye,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
Like because it worked for us and we didn't really screen anyone beforehand. Evan had an idea of who everyone was. That was the height of it. And I think, spoiler alert, I'm going to be cast in the ICL 5v5 that's coming up. We're running we're going to be, and like if there's no tech issues, we're going to look like a better broadcast than ICE's one. Just with what we've been talking about and what we've been planning, it's going to look like an actual broadcast instead of an afterthought almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I think just in general in the scene, like content needs to be produced to make everything more interesting. I think it just enhances everything. Ronan, I see you're definitely agreeing with
Yeah, it's like it's you just like sometimes you get onto the stream. Even like I really enjoy what they've been doing with the skybox, but it's that what's that like royalty free guitar riff music that they play over everything. Like if you change that up a little bit as well, like some sort of variety. I don't know, maybe some more. I don't know. Like you'd probably have to sit down and think about a few things, but some like new segments or just something like that. Bit more spice always makes things taste a bit nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm sorry for ignoring you on that one, Ryan. I thought we covered all the bases, but yeah. No, I do think there's a little bit more. But whether that'll happen, who knows? We've gotten apparently there's a bit of backlash going on at the moment.
People are just fucking wilding and complaining, saying that the seed needs to be redone and all that. At the end of the day, you're not an admin. Like, yes, there could be a fair. Sorry for just completely cutting you off, but like,
No.
I'm just reading it, and it's just people just seem to be.
160 messages. Okay.
Yeah, it's
No,
like DCU and TUD.
160
I think like a reasonable take was the finals will be the semi-finals. Yeah, that just happens. You know what I mean? If you didn't want that to be the only way that could be avoided is don't have any of the number one seed teams on the same side of the bracket, but that just mathematically with 4 groups doesn't work unless you want
I
the
feel
two
like
absolute super groups. But
yeah, I feel like it was sort of it was explained in like in a bit of detail before anything, like 2 weeks ago or something. Like if you did any sort of simple bit of mathematics, you could figure out where you're coming into. Like we wanted to beat ULB, so we would get top seed just based on the sort of caliber of teams in Group B. There seemed to be like 3 teams sort of all fairly even, and then like that fourth team seemed to be just slightly weaker. And I feel like that's what you need to be doing. Um, like you've been told what's happened. Obviously, it can be a bit hateful. Like if you're put up against a tougher team, and maybe initial seeding might have been an issue because it was based on, well, I don't know what it was based on.
Yeah.
But if so, maybe in future, like better seating at the start. Same sort of idea for how the playoffs should be drawn though, and that would probably alleviate a few issues there.
Yeah, and I think we'll cover it whenever we get one of the admins on the show itself. But I
For
think
sure,
they,
next week will maybe.
yeah, it's one of the weeks anyway, soon. I think they were talking about maybe for next season getting the players' input for seeding in the start. So maybe getting all the captains together. We all rate them, all the teams ourselves. We kind of, and then with common sense, everyone can kind of figure out. Like, I think the seeding is probably not too hard to do, but it does need a little bit more than just ice staff doing it. It needs people that know the players, like people that know that Kerbenji's not playing with WIT this season, for example. So they're different. I know that was brought up in the ice chat.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I haven't actually read all the messages. It's been blowing up. Ben was saying like 160 messages. I implore everyone to just read that themselves, form their own opinions. No one's in the right, no one's in the wrong. People just seem to be complaining about it. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. But I think people always would complain about seeding. Someone always gets screwed over. We talked about this before. Someone's always going to be unhappy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's the maturity levels to know that like it's not the most important thing. That's like you need to be blasting someone on their own Discord, because people just get in trouble for that all the time. They just forget that they're in a public Discord and start going off on an admin, and then why do I get disciplined? You know what I mean? Like, just I don't know. Not that that's gonna happen in this instance. It might, but it's just a bit immature in my opinion.
I like there's a case to be made. Like there's a bit of friendly argument or like serious discussion about things, like that's understandable, and you can see like if everybody's civil, but like once you get it into people just taking cheap shots and whining, like
I guess one of
you
these
can live
things
with
as well
it.
this season was it was already like set up at the start of the season, and like people are only complaining halfway through the season. You know, it's not really much you can do. Like
Yeah.
the initial groups have already been set up, so
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
I think that's kind of it for our viewer questions. Ryan, did you see anything else maybe in the chat or in our Discord or anything? Or do you think that's it as well?
I mean, yeah, we've been running long enough, so I'll leave the petty bullshit that I have with certain people to the side. We did have like Cass retired for like 2 hours to go to Valorant.
Valorant player, yeah.
Yeah, and judging by the scoreboard, he might still be ready to do that, but that's an aside, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there was other petty shit we could have.
Bit ICL drama, but we're an ice podcast, so.
Oh well, no. I want to make that very fucking clear. We talk about what we want. Because like the moment someone starts telling us to talk and not talk about things, I will I'll be straight up and I want this on record here. I would faster walk away from it than have people tell us three in particular what to and not say. Just so everyone's clear.
Okay. Well, you've been giving it to everybody, and I think on that note, I think we can probably leave it there. We've been going for 84 minutes now, which is longer than we expected, but I mean the brackets was kind of a big thing and worth talking about, and we did get a good few questions. So just a big thank you to everyone for tuning in this week. We'll do it next Thursday as well with hopefully some interesting games to talk about. We'll have a new guest on as well. Maybe it's Gambra, maybe it'll be someone else. Who knows? We'll surprise you. And thanks for everyone for the questions as well. Some really good ones. And yeah, we have a Discord. We can put it in the chat. Maybe Ryan, do you want to pop that into the Twitch or the stream chat? You can join that up and you can pop in some viewer questions and we'll take note and we can address those, or discussion prompts, anything really. As long as it's not fucking stupid, we'll probably talk about it. And I think we'll probably leave it there. Anyone have anything else that we feel like we missed, or will we drop it there?
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, and if you're watching it back, sorry this was so long, such a drag.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we had a 30 concurrent as well at one point, so big ups.
Nice. All right, well, big thank you to Rónán as well for joining us.
Thank you,
President himself, and I think we'll leave it there. Ryan, if you can figure out the right button to close us out, that'd be great.
Motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Bye.